After failing to beat Austria in Vienna to directly qualify for the World Cup, Bosnia and Herzegovina was left with only playoff hopes. Knowing our past in the playoffs, this was already bad news, but seeing our path, which could be seen as arguably the most difficult, it was only going to get worse.
Fuck it, I'll even make a really bold prediction. I think come March next year, we will be in the playoffs, and we will almost definitely be playing Italy, because that's just our luck.
First up, you had to face the mighty Welsh away from home in Cardiff, and then you would most likely have to face Italy in the final. However, to my and I think most people's surprise, we actually did pull off the upset against Wales and won via the penalty shootout. Despite Nikola Vasic's clumsy positioning error, we were actually able to get the equalizer through a Kerem Albaybegovic and Dzeko collaborative effort off a corner. A few Demirovic misses later, we went to extra time and then to penalties eventually, where Demirovic capped an almost comically miserable display by missing the first penalty in the shootout. Nonetheless, we ended up making the comeback thanks to a Brennan Johnson miss and then a Vasic save, and Kerem Albaybegovic, the 18-year-old, was able to put it away and send us to the playoff path final. On the other side of this pretty little bracket, Italy won their match against Northern Ireland, expectedly so, which meant that we'd be facing them in Zenica. However, before a ball was even kicked, there was a lot of controversy. Footage of the Italians celebrating our penalty shootout win was somehow broadcasted or I guess leaked, and let's say people didn't really take it too well. And I don't just mean in like the Bosnian media, but it felt like worldwide everyone was kind of preying on an Italy fumble simply because of the arrogance portrayed. Despite DeMarco's pretty good comments after the fact, I think our team was already motivated enough. The match itself probably couldn't have started off much worse, as Nikola Vasic made yet another error, this time a lot worse, and handed Italy an advantage. Near the end of the half, Bastoni however decided to tank his transfer value by making a last-man, clear goal-scoring denial of opportunity. I don't think I said that. That tackle on Memic would get him sent off and meant Italy would be playing with 10 men. They would instantly make a substitution, taking off one of their strikers for a center back, and pretty much making it very clear what kind of football they were about to play. For the next 45 minutes in these, and just like against Wales, that would send us to extra time and furthermore penalties. However, unlike in the previous shootout where everything started horribly wrong, in this one, it felt like it was the exact opposite. Tahirovic scored his first penalty, probably channeling all the hatred and abuse he's been getting, and then Pio Esposito missed his, which already gave us an advantage like one penalty series in. As Bosnia went flawless for 3 penalties, Brian Cristante stepped up to take Italy's third, and he would proceed to miss it. This left it for Esmir Baraktarevic to decide the penalty shootout and potentially send Bosnia to the World Cup. Fittingly enough, as poetry always is, the Wisconsin-born American would end up sending Bosnia to the World Cup in North America. Celebrations ensue, and it kind of reminds me of why I fell in love with this sport and this national team in the first place. Like many others, I'm sure, I wasn't really old enough to watch the World Cup in Brazil, or at least I don't remember much of it. And a mere 2, 3, 4 years ago, I was genuinely under the belief that we would potentially never make another major tournament again. Therefore, this meant so much more than just a win and some qualification. It was almost the revival of a once broken nation and a much even more broken national team. The project of the 2028 Euros was, very well in motion, but it just seemed like we exceeded expectations and have given ourselves something to celebrate even earlier. And how could you not appreciate that? Alright, emotions aside, we were in Group B, which featured the hosts Canada, Switzerland, and Qatar. On paper, this may have seemed like the easiest group in the World Cup, arguably, but we are in no position to underestimate anyone. First up was Canada in one of the opening games of the entire World Cup, and the goal was pretty simple here: try and get a draw. Jovo Lukic was paired up with Ermedin Demirovic at the top, which was pretty confusing for most, but Jovo Lukic would proceed to silence me and I'm sure plenty of others by scoring off a corner. What proceeded to happen was a pretty diabolical case of just holding on for dear life, and despite maybe one squandered Ermedin Demirovic mega opportunity, that was about it on our end. Canada was definitely on our wavelength and they were also searching for a point, and eventually they did manage to get the equalizer, but didn't proceed to push much further. I think they were pretty satisfied with the draw. And after 90 minutes and the points shared, both teams left satisfied. Also, shout out Sad Kolasinac, who had a genuine, lifetime performance. Next up, we had Switzerland, and not just any Switzerland, but a very hungry Switzerland. They had just come off a diabolical draw to Qatar, which left them with only 1 point, in their probably most guaranteed on-paper win in the entire group. Long story short, anything but a win against Bosnia would have put them in serious trouble. I don't know necessarily the mentality of our players and our staff ahead of this game, but I'm just gonna assume they weren't too bothered about the result, because no matter what happened, unless we won, which was never likely, we would still have to beat Qatar. The game was pretty kind to us for a long time, up until the second hydration break, after which everything seemed to go wrong. A god-awful clearance from Ahmad Memic proceeded to give Switzerland the lead, and then without our best defender, we would proceed to hold 2 more goals and probably just seal the game off entirely. Youngster Edin Mahmic, who hadn't even played a single qualifier game and whose first competitive game was this one, was brought on in the 91st minute, probably just to get a feel of the pitch, and then proceeded to score an absolute belter to just give us something to hold on to. The loss itself wasn't that bad, because realistically anyone who knows anything probably could have told you this would happen. It's more so the manner in which it happened, because you lost your goal difference, and also your best defender is now unavailable for the next game. Also, to add insult to injury, Ahmad Dedic was also injured, which meant he couldn't play at right back, so that's just great. That saw us field a much weaker starting 11, but Kerem Alaybegovic and Bayraktarovic both started, so at least that's something. The aggressive approach instantly yielded results, as pretty quickly we would go 2-0 up, thanks to an absolutely unreal run by Alaybegovic and an own goal caused by Edin Dzeko. However, the defensive hole that was left with Muharemovic and Ahmad Dedic being out of the game was quickly felt, because nearing the end of the first half we proceeded to concede just a silly goal. The second half saw us take a much more cautious approach, but in the end we would be able to get that third goal thanks to a Hadjikadanic and Mahmic substitution masterclass, which meant that Mahmic had now scored 2 goals within 30 minutes of playing. This pretty much confirmed our spot in the round of 32, and it was just our luck that we'd be facing the shit-hot hosts, the United States of America. For the 8th time in the last 9 games, we are the underdogs once more. But this time there was no upset and there was no surprise, as the USA just kind of took care of business. A lack of willingness and ability to get on the ball probably punished us more than we imagined, and we would end up suffering a 2-0 loss. A collaborative stinker from Radilic and Muharemovic gave the US a lead late into the first half and put us on the back foot going into the second. And a lineup like this only works when you're trying to go for a draw, but the second you're on the back foot, this lineup breaks apart completely. You're playing with 3 center backs and 2 midfielders, of which one of them is athletic and the other one is a brute force, meaning that neither of them are very good on the ball. Despite some tinkering in the second half and a red card for the United States, which was completely deserved, I don't know how someone can look at this and tell me that it isn't deserved. I genuinely don't know what world we're living in. Stjepan Radilic made a foul, which was completely in the best zone for Malik Tillman, and knowing Vasil, this was always going to go in. That pretty much killed the game off then and there, because the US was actually really solid defensively and was able to retain possession, so there wasn't really much we could do. And although the loss was disappointing for a couple of days maybe, realistically now that some time has passed and I've been able to drink it all in, this wasn't really that upsetting. Most people didn't even believe we'd get playoffs. Then most people didn't even believe we'd make it past Wales, let alone Italy, and then even those people didn't think we'd make it past the group stage. But we did all of that, and the end of the road was always going to come eventually. The most important thing is that these young players got a feel of a major tournament, which will be an absolutely invaluable experience for the future. We have a lot of young talent already here present in the national team currently, and also I'm sure a lot of young talent ready to step in soon. If you've been on Bosnian football Twitter, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Nonetheless, we had an exciting, I'll say few months, because ever since the playoffs, it's been all hype about the World Cup. So that's nice. At the end of the day, that's really what matters. I definitely owe you a much longer video essay, but I don't know if people still care about this channel, because I've been a I've been just a little bit inactive. I don't know if you've noticed. I've been a little bit inactive. So if you still give a shit, I don't blame you if you don't. But if you do, I'm more than happy to make that video. I just am. Also, I'm definitely long overdue a Bosnian uncommitted dual citizenship Wonder Kids video. The part 3 that I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for. That's in the works, I can promise you that much. I've taken away the last year to really drink in the national team's success and enjoy the moments because God knows how long that's gonna last. I'm sure there's plenty more to say, and I'm sure I will in the future, but for now I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you all hopefully soon. Hopefully, but I wouldn't bank on it.